Insanity, a word which here means doing the same thing over and over again but expecting different results. Sorry in advance, Blazer fans. In 1984, the Portland Trail Blazers were on the clock with the second overall pick. With their eyes set on a big, they'd select imposing 7-footer Sam Bowie out of Kentucky. For those of you young bucks who don't memorize 1980s draft history, Sam Bowie was picked number 2 in '84, one spot ahead of Michael Jordan. Yeah. Back in 1977, the Blazers won their first and only championship in franchise history. That team was led by a young Bill Walton. Walton skipped town in '79, leaving legendary Blazers shot caller Jack Ramsey to endlessly search for his replacement. Portland hit big at the '83 draft, finding Clyde Drexler 14th overall. The Glide would show enough in his rookie season along guard Jim Paxson that the Blazers felt their backcourt was set in stone moving forward. Sam Bowie, meanwhile, was a collegiate star at Kentucky, averaging 13 points, 9 rebounds per game on 70% shooting for his career. After his sophomore year, though, Sam had a stress fracture in his left tibia misdiagnosed as shin splints, an injury that eventually needed to be repaired with a bone graft. His situation seemed wildly unpleasant. Also, he missed 2 full years in college. Now, the Blazers were actually competitive during this era of the franchise. In the 7 seasons post-championship, they'd make the playoffs 6 times. In '84, they were fresh off a 48-34 season. 3 years prior in 1981, though, they had swung a sweetheart trade with the Pacers, sending talented Big Tom Owens off in exchange for a future first-round pick. That pick conveyed in '84 just as the Pacers were hitting rock bottom as a franchise. The 1984 draft was the final one prior to the NBA implementing a lottery system. Instead, at this time, the bottom team in each conference would flip a coin to determine who'd pick first overall. As if to foreshadow the disaster that would occur, Portland lost that coin flip to Houston, who'd of course take Hakeem Olajuwon. Again, I can't stress enough how hard up the Blazers were for a big man. The franchise, in fact, was fined $250,000 prior to the draft, the largest fine in league history at that point, for illegally making contact with Patrick Ewing and Hakeem while they were still in college. The TLDR of the situation: some Blazer people talked with some Ewing and Hakeem people when they weren't allowed to. Anyways, given their supposed lack of need at the guard spot and their insatiable thirst for a big, the Blazers unsurprisingly took Bowie 2nd overall with Hakeem off the board. And here's a dirty little secret for y'all. Sam Bowie? Not a horrible NBA player. Despite the regret and disappointment that would creep in by year 2 of his career, eventually leading to him being deemed an all-time draft bust, Bowie had tools that, as established, the Blazers coveted. As a rookie, the 7'1", 235-pound center averaged 10 points, 9 boards, and 3 blocks a game on 54% shooting. That's not bad. Ramsey would say of Sam during his rookie season, quote, "We haven't had a guy with his kind of strength since Kermit Washington. Sam was the right pick for us." In year 2, he'd see a slight uptick in his numbers until he was sidelined for 2/3 of the season after breaking the same left tibia he injured in college. Tough. Just 5 games into his 3rd season, disaster, as Bowie would suffer a gruesome injury to his right tibia this time, an injury that would cost him his entire 4th season as well. Regardless of what MJ was doing, these injuries were Bowie's ultimate downfall. Sam would later comment on them saying, quote, "You feel like you disappointed Portland. You're getting paid a lot of money and you can't play. I don't know if it's guilt or regret, but I've never been one to say, why me?" For the Portland Trailblazers, the shadow of picking someone over Michael Jordan, an instantly successful, transcendental NBA player, it would haunt them forever, surely preventing them from ever making the same mistake again. In 2007, the Portland Trail Blazers were on the clock with the 1st overall pick. With their eyes set on a big, they'd select imposing 7-footer Greg Oden out of Ohio State. Oden spent just a single year in college, but did a ton of damage: 16 points, 10 rebounds, 3 blocks per game on over 60% from the field. He was a competent free throw shooter, comfortable with his back to the basket, and was lauded for his athleticism. In the Sweet 16 against Tennessee, Oden would soar to reject a potential game winner, and alongside Mike Conley would push the Buckeyes to the national championship game. In the Natty, Oden would outplay, well, everyone, including future NBA All-Stars Joakim Noah and Al Horford. 25 points, 12 rebounds, 4 blocks on 10 of 15 shooting, albeit in a loss to Florida. Oden entered the NBA draft in June of 2007 as the clear projected number 1 overall pick. Seriously, I sifted through a ton of mock drafts and like 95% of them had Oden over Durant. Where the logic behind drafting Bowie over Jordan made a tiny bit of sense for the Blazers, Blazers, the 2007 decision, well, it was just dumb. Portland already had two established young building blocks in Brandon Roy and LaMarcus Aldridge, a two-guard and a stretch four. Sure, Odin was a logical complement as a potential defensive anchor, creating a rangy, skilled front court with Aldridge. But there was also no redundancy with choosing Kevin Durant, a 6'10" scoring swingman. On paper, Durant could have given the Blazers a three-headed scoring monster with Roy and Aldridge, without any positional overlap that would have solidified Portland for years to come. The decision was baffling, especially with the context of Odin and Durant's pre-draft workouts. Of KD, Blazers GM Kevin Pritchard would say, quote, "When you look at Kevin, you think the kid is built to play basketball. What we saw really impressed us today." While on the flip side, Odin reportedly had a so-so workout with the team, citing nerves and admitting to poor play. Obviously, I'm not trying to say Portland should have made their decision based off one workout, but like, all the evidence maybe should have led to a different decision. In September 07, just prior to his rookie season, Odin would undergo microfracture surgery on his right knee, causing him to miss the entire year. Pritchard reaffirmed at this time that Portland had done their due diligence pre-draft, and MRIs on both Odin's knees were, quote, pristine. Nonetheless, the tragic comparisons between Odin and Sam Bowie were instantly drawn. Odin finally debuted in the NBA during the 08-09 season. He'd averaged 9.7 rebounds per game in 61 outings, while battling foot and knee injuries. His sophomore 09-10 season actually started strong. 21 straight starting appearances, a 12-9 average stat line, a 24-12 outing against the Bulls, but disaster would strike for Portland once again. Odin would come down after an attempted block in a heap. He had a fractured patella which would sideline him for the season. Greg Oden would miss 3 more entire seasons with various injuries to both his knees. Save for a brief stint with Miami some 7 years after he was drafted, his career was over before it really began. For years, the Portland Trail Blazers yearned to recapture the magic of Bill Walton and that 1977 championship team. Insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, but expecting different results.